I'm just gonna say it right now. Do not judge my painting skills. They could be better. They could be a lot better.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am over here trying to finish up this castle, which is proving to be more difficult than I thought. I thought I would be done with this project right away, but here we are. So I figured while you watch me paint this, I can talk about some of the books that I have read. And I want to start with a middle grade. This is actually a reread for me. I read this one in 2020, and I figured I wanted to give it a reread. I read Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan, and this is a middle grade book, which is about the ages of 8 to 12. But I would argue, just like with basically any middle grade that I've read before, I would argue that this is a book that anybody could benefit from reading. So, hence the reason why I wanted to give it a reread. The other reason I wanted to reread it, is because of the current events here in the U.S. Everything that's happening in Los Angeles and all of the peaceful protests that we've had all over the country. And being in social media and, following a lot of creators that have talked about these topics, I came across several people that were talking about how do we bring up these conversations with children. And of course, this is no surprise to anybody, whether children are the most vulnerable people in this case, and they probably have no idea what's going on or how to react. It is very important that they understand, and that we as adults bring up these conversations with them, so they can have a little bit more knowledge of what is going on than them children not knowing. Being completely ignorant about this topic is not going to help them or anybody. It's just going to leave them confused. So I came across a lot of posts that talked about, how to bring up these conversations with children, especially if they're in school, and things that they can do and how to process everything that's going on. And I thought this was really important. And I mean, this is another important reason why we have books that are diverse and that bring up stories from all over the world and from every culture and from everywhere, so that we can have a perspective and we can empathize, and we can also see ourselves in the stories. So I think Esperanza Rising is one of those books that could be a topic of conversation, that the kids can understand a little bit more of what is going on, and also maybe brings a little bit of hope in all of this. So, to tell you a little bit about the story, where the year is about 1930, I believe, is in El Rancho de las Rosas. This is in Aguascalientes, Mexico, and Esperanza is about to turn 13 years old. This is a very well-off family. They have a huge ranch. They have servants. They have a lot of people working the land. So this is a rich family in Mexico. Unfortunately, the father is killed, and the Esperanza and her mom have to leave the home and everything, and moved to California in order to not get married to one of Esperanza's uncles. So this is where, when she's in California, she lives now a very different life. She has to share rooms with her mom. They don't even have their own home. They have to share the home with another family, which happens to be the servants that they were working for them in Aguascalientes. So her whole world has changed, and she has to learn how to live now, how to help out. All of the adults are going off to work. She has to stay home and take care of the younger children until her mom gets sick, and then she has to go to work in order to be able to survive. What I want to do now is I want to focus on another character in the story, Martha. Martha is introduced in the story once Esperanza gets to California. Martha is a U.S. citizen by birthright, and through Martha, we find out of the working conditions in California, specifically to Mexicans in this area, but then we also get a little bit of insight of any other people of color that are in the same area, the working conditions that they have and how they are treated compared to others. And there was a lot going on. So through her, we find out that there's a lot of people that, of course, they are tired of the working conditions and the pay. The pay is laughable, and it's not enough to, for the families. It's just not enough to maintain a a decent life. So Martha, her mom, and we find out later on that there's a lot of other people around her that are looking to strike. They want to strike. They want to have better living conditions. They want to have better pay. They want their communities to prosper. And we see Martha here just, because we see it through her eyes. We see her in the community that she's starting to slowly build with her mom. And we see how, they're desperately trying to get the rest of the people to work with them. But then we also see the other side of the coin, right? We see the people that are scared because if they speak up, they can simply just get fired, and there's no guarantee that they can find another job. The biggest fear is that they could get deported. And we find out that a lot of employers are doing that. If you're not happy, they can easily threaten their workers to getting their employees deported, and they don't have to deal with it, right? So we see the fear that these undocumented workers are living with day by day, with the uncertainty of, I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I'm afraid of speaking up because I don't know how they will react. They can just fire me and I will never there's no guarantee that I will find a job. Or, I can get deported and I don't know how will I get back to my family. We see that the employers are completely taking advantage of these immigrant workers. They absolutely do not care who is there as long as the work gets done. And they simply see it, if you don't want to do the work, you can go ahead and leave. I'll just get somebody else, and I can probably get somebody else to do it cheaper, which is ridiculous. And I mean, like I said, this book is based on 1930, but this is something that we continue to see over and over and over and over again, and now it's 2025 and we're still seeing the same exact thing. So this is why I thought it was important to reread this book, because it's important to see that the struggle, there's always been a struggle. Yes, things are, you can say things are a little better right now, but there's still that struggle. We still have not overcome this issue. We still have not overcome this, and it's very obvious by the current events. Repatriation. This is another thing that is another subject in this book that I think it's important to mention as well, because it's something that we have seen in history over and over again. And again, I'm going back to current events. It's happening right now. So we see this happening with Martha when she is hiding because, there's the fear of her getting deported. And it doesn't matter that she was born in the United States. She was born in California. It doesn't matter. They're just going to look at her. She's brown. She's going to go. The last thing I'm going to say about this book is that it drives me completely insane not to know what happened to Martha after her interaction with Esperanza. It drives me insane not to know where she ended up, and I really hope that she found her community, and that her and her mom were able to, along with this community of people, they found success, through the strike that she was planning on. I hope that she made life better for herself and for her mom, but also for thousands of immigrants that might have crossed her path. I just imagine her in a very different life, and I hope she gets that. And, to her and all the Marthas out there constantly fighting, I just want to say thank you, because thanks to all the people that have been fighting for so long, I get to live the life that I live right now. I get to have a voice, and I get to add my voice to the many people out there that are doing this. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you. And do not let fear stop you from doing what's right. Do not let fear stop you from speaking up. Let me know if you guys have read this book, or if you would be interested in reading it, and if there's any other books like it that you would recommend. Again, this is a middle grade, so if you have little ones in your life, I would recommend that you also share them with them, talk about it with them and everything. I hope you're liking the castle as well, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.